we exist in a state of absolute, unquestioning faith in the sequence of events. We believe that the past is a locked vault, the present is a fleeting razor's edge, and the future is a void yet to be written. This linear progression is more than just a law of physics. It is the fundamental architecture of human sanity. We understand the world through the lens of causality. The glass must fall before it shatters. The spark must exist before the fire. The wound must be inflicted before the pain is felt. But what if this sequence is not a rule, but a fragile habit of the universe? What if the arrow of time is not a fixed direction, but a pendulum that has begun to swing back? Imagine standing in your kitchen, and suddenly you feel a sharp, searing heat on your palm. The agony is immediate, visceral, and terrifying. You scream in pain, clutching your hand. Only then, 5 seconds later, do you reach out and accidentally touch the hot stove. The effect has preceded the cause. The pain was the announcement of an event that was already mathematically mandatory. This is the horror of negative time, a reality where the universe no longer waits for a reason to inflict a consequence. Welcome to Discovered Today. We descend into the terminal breakdown of logic, the scientific reality, and the psychological annihilation of negative time. For decades, we relegated the idea of backward-running time to the realm of pulp science fiction and speculative philosophy. We assumed that the arrow of time, dictated by the second law of thermodynamics, was an unbreakable barrier. Entropy, we believed, only moves in one direction toward disorder. But recent breakthroughs in quantum mechanics have revealed a terrifying crack in this foundation. Researchers at the University of Toronto have observed a phenomenon that defies the very essence of when. Under specific conditions, photons, the fundamental particles of light, have been observed exiting a medium before they have even finished entering it. This is not a measurement error. It is a phenomenon known as negative group delay. In the quantum realm, the distinction between before and after is becoming increasingly porous. When a beam of light passes through a cloud of ultra-cold atoms, the atoms can absorb and re-emit energy in such a way that the transit time becomes negative. The light exists in the future while its tail is still trapped in the past. If this subatomic behavior were to scale upward to the macro world, the reality we inhabit would dissolve into a chaotic, incomprehensible nightmare. The scientific community calls this a violation of causality, but to the human mind, it is a form of biological and psychological torture. Our brains are evolved to predict the future based on the past. If the past begins to flow from the future, the machinery of thought simply collapses. Consider the biological implications of a negative time field on the human body. We are accustomed to aging as a forward-moving decay, a slow accumulation of cellular damage. But in a negative time scenario, the biological process is not simply reversed, it is conflicted. Human agency is predicated on the idea of choice. We believe we can change the outcome of our lives because the future hasn't happened yet. But if negative time is a reality, then the future is not a possibility, it is a memory. If you experience the effect before the cause, you are no longer a participant in your own life. You are a passenger in a pre-recorded tragedy. If you feel the grief of a funeral before the loved one has even fallen ill, you are trapped in a deterministic cage. You know what is coming because you have already felt the impact, yet you are powerless to step off the tracks. This leads to a phenomenon we might call causal dysphoria, the complete disconnection from one's own actions. In a world where time runs backward or negatively, the concept of fault and responsibility disappears. How can you be guilty of a crime if the victim's wounds appeared before you ever picked up the weapon? The social contract, which is built on the sequence of action and consequence, would evaporate. The resulting societal collapse would not be a matter of politics or economics, but a fundamental loss of the why. The Toronto study showed that atoms can remain in an excited state for negative durations, essentially calming down before the energy has even arrived to excite them. Scale this to a human level. Imagine the sensation of a cold shiver before you step into the winter air, or the feeling of satiety before you have tasted a single bite of food. It sounds like a convenience, but it is a sensory void. It removes the now. If every experience is preceded by its conclusion, the human experience of discovery and joy is rendered obsolete. We would live in a world of echoes, where the sound arrives before the voice. Furthermore, we must consider the entropy reversal on a planetary scale. If time were to truly run in reverse, the sun would suck back its radiation, the oceans would unwarm, the very process of life would become a journey toward the womb. But negative time is more insidious than a simple reversal. It is an overlap, a time loop where the past and future are grinding against each other like tectonic plates. This friction creates temporal dead zones, areas where cause and effect are so scrambled that the laws of physics simply cease to function. If we are stripped of our ability to cause things to happen, we lose our identity. We become biological ghosts, haunting our own futures. The dread of knowing the exact moment of your own death because you have already experienced the cessation of your heartbeat while you are still a young man is a burden the human psyche cannot carry. It would lead to a mass epidemic of temporal catatonia, where the population simply stops moving, paralyzed by the weight of a future that has already arrived. In the subatomic experiments, the negative delay is measured in nanoseconds. It is a whisper of a possibility. But as we push the boundaries of quantum computing and high-energy physics, we are poking holes in the veil of causality. We are building machines that operate at speeds where time begins to blur. We are creating environments where the arrow of time is being forcibly bent. We are, in essence, inviting the nightmare of negative time into our reality. The universe has a way of protecting its secrets, but we are becoming too loud to ignore. The negative time discovered in the laboratories of today is the herald of the causal collapse of tomorrow. We have long feared the end of the world through fire, ice, or war. We never considered that the world might end because the clock simply decided to run the other way. When the sequence breaks, we break with it. The screams will come before the pain. The funerals will come before the deaths. And the end will come before the beginning. We are living on borrowed time, and the universe is starting to demand the debt be paid in reverse. The group delay is no longer just a term in a physics paper. It is the measure of our remaining sanity. Every time a photon exits before it enters, a small piece of our reality is deleted. We are moving toward a point of no return, a temporal singularity where the past and future will collide and cancel each other out, leaving nothing but a timeless, silent void. In that void, there will be no memories, because there will be no before. There will be no hope, because there will be no after. There will only be the eternal negative presence of a universe that forgot how to move forward. If this descent into the collapsing architecture of time has left you feeling unmoored from reality, it is because you are finally perceiving the fragility of the now. We cling to the sequence of events like a lifeline in a dark ocean, unaware that the line has already been cut. Here at Discovered, we do not seek to reassure. We only seek to reveal the shadows that are moving toward us from the future. To continue this exploration into the most disturbing corners of science and the human condition, we invite you to join us. Subscribe to Discovered and activate the notification bell. In a world where time is becoming an enemy, knowledge of the abyss is the only anchor we have. Stay alert, stay skeptical, and remember, the pain you feel today might just be the warning of a wound that is waiting for you tomorrow. Subscribe now and watch the countdown to the end of Causality with us. The past is catching up, and the future has already been here.